I'm Óscar Iranzo. I come from Nielsen, and I manage commercial operations of Nielsen Media and Nielsen Sports and Entertainment in the Iberia region. We manage different projects in the world of sports and entertainment, and I'm super happy to be in Portugal today with this magnificent panel.
Thank you. I'm Richard Ayres, and as Russell said, I chair 7 League, a digital agency. I also started a immersive experience company, and basically I'm a hippie, a commercial hippie geek. Nerd, geek, one of those.
Hi everyone. Boa tarde. Pleasure to be here with all of you today. Richard did not say, but he's also my own personal digital guru. So since 2009, so he was the one that actually brought me to the digital world many years ago. But I'm Luís Vicente, so I'm Portuguese, here born in Porto. So it's really nice to be here after so many years. And currently I'm doing a lot of different things. I'll say the one more known, I'm the chairman of Apex Capital, which is an investment platform with some of the world-class athletes. And thank you for being here with us.
Thanks, guys. And yeah, sorry, Oscar. I thought first of all we'd just try and pull apart the title of the session a little bit. So, you know, what is it? What is digital transformation? So, do you want to have a stab at that, Richard, first?
It's a word. It's a combination of words that have been used too much in the past 5 years. Everybody's bored with digital transformation, like, ah. But actually it's a process that has been going on for probably, I would say, 25 years now. The first sector that it affected was news. You remember when you used to maybe buy a newspaper, listen to the radio, watch TV, and of course the web came out in '95. And suddenly you could get information left, right, and center. And I was working for news at that time for the BBC, and the digital transformation affected news immediately, and it is still going on. 25 years later, it's still going. So sport is only, I would say, maybe 10 years into the process of being affected in every part of it. Not just the marketing guys with the social media, all the way through every form of technology change that has been happening to democratize data, to make it more accessible. And it's having a massive impact on sport because, you know, we haven't had to change. Sport hasn't had to change. You know, the money is coming in from TV, so everybody's happy. They don't need to change the model. But actually, in the background, everything's changing. The audience is changing, the technology, the business models, it's all adapting, and we have to be on top of that so that we can keep working with it, because it's not going to stop, right? It's getting faster. It's changing more and more.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's right. I mean, how are you seeing it from Nielsen's perspective in terms of the trends?
Yeah, I think that for me, I'm gonna be, I would say, like, simple in the sense that for us, like, digital transformation is to address to a sport population, to sports fans, that according to our research represents around 60% of them are Gen Z or millennials. So how you interact with this big segment of the population that have no patience, that every time watch shorter and shorter content, that watch a football game, but at the same time are WhatsApping, are checking Instagram, are tweeting. So digital transformation for us in that sense means how you interact with those people and make your content appealing in the sense of making it accessible, but also being attractive, because there's so much offer right now, not only sports. You have to choose between, should I watch a game? Should I watch the latest TV show of Formula 1? Or should I watch Game of Thrones? There's so much offer. So for us, it's how you connect with that.
Luís, what about that? I mean, there's been that sort of initial transformation, and then there's this sort of future transformation. I mean, are we actually there with the sort of, I don't know, transformation 1.0 yet?
Can I be honest?
Yeah, no, I think that's right.
I think we are still not 1.0, right? So we probably 0.8. And I think digital transformation for me is the biggest revolution, right, that the world has seen probably in the last 2 decades, 3 decades. Actually change any kind of industry that we know. Maybe sports is the one that has been less impacted by it, right? And I think there is different points of view. If I'm a user and I like to stream today content, instead of seeing on a linear TV, that's digital transformation. If I'm a Generation Z, actually that I'm in a football game and I actually can enjoy the beautiful Wi-Fi and can enjoy so many different content while I'm for 5 minutes watching actually what's happening on the pitch, that is digital transformation. But I think the problem with sports has been actually how the entire ecosystem is built, right? And I think will be amazingly important if we could think about something which is only lives in the virtual world, and we talk about virtual for sure in this panel today. But if you could imagine, many years ago, if Google actually was the creator of football or the creator of sports, actually our industry would be very different. And one thing special, which for me is something I've been fighting for so many years to try to make a reality, that actually the fans could have a voice, that actually that largest community, which is probably the largest community in the world, could actually be known and could actually interact, could have a point of destination. So I think we still have a lot to do. And I think definitely we can only change when we maybe have a leadership across the entire sports industry that is actually digital native, which is something that we still have to achieve.
Yeah. So Luís, Richard and I worked together at Man City. I started there 11 years ago, and we were basically, I guess at that point, scratching the surface of what digital transformation might look like at big clubs. Richard, obviously you went on to do 7 League. How did the digital transformation evolve with 7 League?
When we talk to rights holders as part of 7 League, the usual thing would be you'd start with a marketing guy, right? Because the marketing guys are thinking about, is there some cool thing I can do on the internet that's going to make me look great? I can do a new activation, I can do a shirt sponsor or something like that. And that's fine, that was good. We started with a lot of those conversations. And then it would move on to the content guys and the PR and the telling of the stories. And eventually, and I would say this is probably only in about 2018, we started to see the commercial director in the room. And now it's all the commercial directors. Because now they're saying, okay, this thing, I now cannot, I can't ignore it. I can't walk away from it. I can't pretend it's not happening. It's in all my rights conversations. It's in my player contracts. It's in my TV broadcast deals. I have to have a solution to this. I have to have a way of being able to even just have credible threat and a negotiation, over an OTT service. And so the result is it's changed that mindset. And I think to your point, Luís, we're getting closer to the moment when the CEO is somebody who is naturally digital. But the culture change is the big, a lot of the stuff, I'm trying to do commercial, I'm trying to help them with technical stack, but actually really, I'm helping the organization adapt. There's always, we talk about the sort of, the systems you need to have in place to go through a transformation. And, some of it is audience understanding and CRM and data and lots of other interesting things. But the one that everybody always ignores is the digital DNA. It's like the organization has to be open and accepting there is a lot of change going on. We have to learn. We have to learn. We always have to be learning. And that's the way you protect yourself for the next thing, Web3 or NFTs or metaverse or new forms of data construct or whatever's coming down the line. You can only protect yourself and therefore protect your sport. And that's the important thing, right? Protecting the sport. You can only do that if you get your digital culture right in the organization. That's the most difficult thing.
Yeah, I was going to pass it to you, Oscar, there, and just Richard was talking about obviously those sort of trends and what's coming next. Obviously as a data specialist and monitoring company, you've obviously sort of tracked the past and looked at what's happened, but what is next? How do you sort of use that to project forwards?
Yeah, what we saw is what I was mentioning before is that attention spans are shortening. There's a huge competition on attention and content, and what used to be fashion 5 years ago is not longer fashion, because 5 years ago you had some social media that were trendy for for football clubs. Right now, if you don't have a TikTok account, it seems that you are nobody, because same with Instagram. Now, fans, as Luis was mentioning, need to interact, need to be part as well of the content. And at the same time, for example, today we were like discussing with a couple of friends a huge case we have in Spain now, the Kings League. I feel like Gerard Piqué will be the president of this league. Then the streamers will be like the president of the clubs, and they are hiring and made like a big talent competition. All these streamers together, the amount of followers they have will be like around 30. I mean, of course they will like, the duplicating that will be like around 50, 20 million together, but this is another form of content totally outside the original side of the current sport. But at the end, it's sport and it's entertainment. So this is where we see the industry is going. The totally fusion that the entertainment and sport are merging.
Yeah.
So and this is important because at the end you might not be interested in the live content, but you might be interested in a TV show in Netflix.
Yeah.
And we have seen that. And the paradigm of that is the F1 TV show of Netflix, the TV show that everybody mentions, okay, that helped the F1 to get very nice awareness in the US. So I think it's very important to notice that in order to be successful.
Yeah, and I think obviously the title of the panel is about digital transformation in sport and entertainment, but you know we were sort of debating, is it more the entertainment transformation of digital and sport? You know, I think there's this big entertainment transformation. I think that's what we worked on at Man City, very much about putting, you know, entertainment first. But Luís, just in terms of the federations, obviously you drove innovation at FIFA. What are the opportunities for the federations and, you know, the sort of leading sports organisations in digital transformation?
I think they are massive. And FIFA was a great test case of having, let's say, the largest rights holder in the largest sports in the world, trying actually to change itself and trying to transform itself, trying to open itself to the world. And again, when you do transformation, it doesn't mean you always right, or sometimes you're wrong, sometimes you're right, but it's about experimentation. And I think, especially today, and we all need to see the biggest obstacle we have in sports today, it's actually laziness, right? Because there is a laziness in the industry. And we have to understand why, because the industry in a way never really wanted to have a direct relationship with its community, with its fans. You know, the industry prefers to have a media rights company that buys the media rights and pays a guarantee, prefers to have a sponsor that actually does the same, rather than actually try to connect directly with community. And I think when you look at FIFA, and again, it's great sports organization, and actually organizes the largest event in the world, which now we're going to have another edition, starting on this weekend. But actually is attached to the same issues that you see across the industry: big dependence on media rights, big dependence on very old sponsorship agreements. But at least had the courage to try to recreate itself, open itself to the co-creators. Again, one of the projects that I'm more proud of having done in FIFA was actually with Richard. We created a FIFA fan movement, which was a community of micro-creators. We had about 15,000 plus, which actually were people that were selected because they loved the football, they loved the sport. And they were just telling us every day the stories they were seeing across the world about football, right? So maybe it could be a couple of Mexican fans seeing, a game on the amateur league. Could be, them actually doing their own game or training, on esports ecosystem. And actually that changed, enormous, actually our connection once and for all with the community. I think as well connecting and be able to connect the virtual and real side of the sport. And again, one of the areas I had under me in FIFA was, of course, esports, and of course the FIFA game, which is, I'll say, the best use case we have, in the industry of actually successful cooperation between the virtual and the real world. And it was not easy for any of the parties because, of course, FIFA is still the governing body of football, doesn't necessarily understand the gaming ecosystem like he understands the sport. And on the esports side, you have the publisher, which is actually used to dominate, right? Because there is no other publisher that actually gives away the control of the ecosystem, and EA for many years did that. But I think was very interesting, one piece of data that we got, and this is also some piece of work we did with Richard at the time. There was about a 200 million community, right, playing the game. And actually probably more than 60% of that community actually knew FIFA, and football, not because of the event that FIFA organizes every 4 years, but actually because of the game. And we also did other initiatives. Actually, we managed to convert some gamers in actual football players, which is quite an interesting, part of the journey. But I say there is, everybody should open itself. Again, it's a journey. It's a long-term journey. It's not something that everybody is going to solve in a day, but it's definitely something that people need to understand each other, and organizations as well across sports need to trust each other. Because as Domingos said today when he was talking here a few hours ago, one of the biggest issues you have in the industry is there's so much competition on the pitch, right, that then organizations don't trust each other when they talk off the pitch. And I think this is definitely something we need to fix if we want football to be relevant in the decades to come.
So Richard, just coming back to you again, maybe just some tangible examples of like good things that you've done in digital transformation. I mean,
real stuff.
Yeah.
Actual projects.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's always tempting to talk about, big Premier League clubs who have incredible brands and they're in the Premier League and they have relatively a lot of money. Okay, so I'm not going to talk about those. Two examples I wanted to say you should definitely keep an eye on. One is Major League Soccer in the US. They do a really good job on the digital side. They have to, because they don't get the TV shows, they don't get the column inches, they don't get the awareness in the US market. They've got a great opportunity with all of particularly women's football, but the grassroots. And they have you've seen recently their deal with Apple for the rights. And they did a deal with Facebook rights about 4 years ago, before anybody else was doing that. They did, even 6 years ago, I said to them, I'm really interested in the ref cams that you get in rugby, where the referee has a camera on his chest, and can we experiment in football? Could we do something? And literally within 3 weeks, they put a camera on the side of the head in the All-Star game, just because they're willing to learn and try stuff. And that is why they are growing like crazy, and they are getting the big deals with Apple, right? Because Apple looks at them and says, these guys get us. They get digital. We trust them. And a lot of the tech companies, they look at sport and go, yeah, it's like, you remember in American films, there's always the geeks and the jocks, like two different gangs. And at the moment, that's what's happening with the tech companies looking at us in sport and going, yeah, they're football guys, right? They don't really understand technology. It's going to waste our time, waste our money. What's the point? That's why Amazon doesn't do deals all the time with loads of sport, because they just you're not aligned with us. You're not the same kind of people we can trust. So definitely look at Major League Soccer.
Yeah.
Go on.
I think where you're going there though on the main big tech is really interesting, because I remember when I was at Barca.
Yeah.
There was a mantra at the time that you would not be able to get a sponsorship deal with any of the GAFA. I mean, Google, Apple, Facebook, Amazon, Netflix as well. There was that sort of feeling that it was just impossible. They would say actually that they would not sponsor, and actually Google started sponsoring, I think, Formula One, women's football as well. So the last probably 2 years, I guess it's happened.
Yeah.
So what do you think? I don't know, maybe Oscar,
somebody else. Go.
Oscar, could we come to you on that one? Just was there something that we can pick up from sort of valuation or sort of the money side that has unlocked that the reason
for me one of the most interesting side is that I come from more the sponsorship side, but what we see is like the importance of the digital assets in the sponsorship contracts right now. Okay, now we evaluate every year hundreds of sponsorship contracts, and like 5 years ago we didn't see that. Right now we see that sponsorship contracts include that properties have to post X Instagram posts, that they have to include the brand on the app. They have to include some intellectual property assets in the digital assets of the brand who is sponsoring. So back in time, we didn't see that. Right now, this is a big part of the contract, mostly in big clubs, but this is happening, and it starts with big clubs, and then it's gonna continue with the rest of the industry, because it's as it happened always.
So what do you think is happening with the big platforms? I mean, huge changes going on with Meta, with Twitter, obviously with Elon going in there. There seems to be like there's the sort of the crypto winter that seems to be fundamentally changing maybe what we've got used to in Web 2.0. So what do you think's going on there with the sort of Instagrams, TikToks, YouTubes, Twitch?
I think it's quite one of the interesting phenomenons for the years to come. I think for many years these platforms have been dominating, and also thanks to the sports industry, because in a way sports opened the doors for free. It was a free ride, and that has been amazing. Again, I'm still saying today for me is not easy to see that, okay, actually it's not FIFA or Premier League or any club that actually has the largest database of the football fan community in the world is actually Meta, right? So, and that says a lot about the damage that was made. And I think it's interesting that, the impact that these platforms are having, I think, with VR, AR, with merge reality, with crypto and democratization of currency, right? Because again, of course, we know, now I say that we are no longer in a bear market, we are in a grizzly market because it's a big bear. But I think for me, the interesting point is not crypto. Again, it's great. I believe a lot in digital currencies. Wherever is the current stage of crypto or something else that is going to happen in the future, I think that is going to be dominant. If I'm today 10 years old, for me the wrong thing will be actually to see a coin or see paper, note. Actually, for me, digital currencies will be, essential. Now, the piece for me that is absolutely mandatory is how can we really once and for all talk about the right thing, that is talking about the impact of blockchain in sports. And I think for many years, and I have here former colleagues as well from FIFA with me, and that were also my business partners today. And for instance, in FIFA, we research quite a lot, all the user cases potentially possible for blockchain in sports, which go for utilities that people maybe don't even think that they exist, right? But for instance, one of the main, as you know, central issues in the media recently has been the new regulations of FIFA for football agents. Actually, that technology was built in-house and uses a blockchain ecosystem. New technologies that have been developed as well to try to determine, as well, and create a digital passport for the players, right? In order to avoid some issues that happen in the industry for so many years, especially with African players, and understanding the real age, understanding the real conditions, as well, where they are recruited, to, solutions in ticketing, to solutions, as well on the digital collectible world, which I think it's a massive opportunity as well for fans achieving something, right? Because, we have millions of fans giving all their time to the sport for so many years. At the end of the day, what are you getting back, right? You're getting moments, flashes of, passion, right? When your club wins or your favorite player score a goal, but it's not a 24/7, 365. So I think whatever we do around this new space, and maybe that includes creating new platforms, right? That may become, I think there will be a democratization there, is actually how can we make sure that because I'm a fan and because I give, all my time to that sport, that actually the sport can give back. And that may be by allowing co-creation to becoming actually a business model. I believe a lot in, the advent of personal data marketplaces where actually the fans can be rewarded, not just that Facebook or Meta in this case or Google get the money, but actually that the real people get the money. And I think we are maybe on something that I call a beautiful journey coming from now on.
I was going to open it to Q&A, but we've only got a few minutes left. So I just thought I'd just ask the panelists just to give us maybe a minute each on their vision of innovation over the next month, 6 months, 18 months, or something like that. Pick one, or there's a big tournament happening over the next month, so I don't know.
Yeah, whatever. Oh, you mean the Women's World Cup?
That's the one.
That's the good World Cup. So, I shouldn't say that, should I? Yeah, that's going to be one to watch. The thing to keep your eye on, the thing that I'm excited about, and that's why I've started a new company, is the immersive stuff. Because what we love about going to a sports event, going to a match, is being in it. Sights, sounds, smells, people, noise, like it's all that. And if you can bring that, then that's a very intoxicating entertainment experience, a passionate experience that you will pay for. And that's why Zuckerberg has gone big on the VR and the immersive and the Quest. I would, if you can, get hold of, or for the business, get one of the Quest headsets. It's not perfect. It's like, I mean, we're at the birth of that whole experience, you know. And as a parent, if you're a parent, you will know that some births are quick and easy, but my son took 44 hours to come out. So, you know, like some of them take a while. But we are at the birth of that. Try the Quest. Try NFLs. There's an NFL Pro Era game where you get to be a quarterback. It's incredibly accurate to the NFL experience, and NFL fans love it. They sold 100,000 versions of the game in 2 weeks at $30 a piece. Like and they're building one for NBA, and there's a football one called Rezzil. Try the REZZIL. Try the Rezzil one. You know, there are experiences there that they're not perfect, but they're the beginnings of something really interesting. And that's, I mean, I would put that in the 18-month timeline.
Okay, I agree. Oscar?
Yeah, for me, one of the main things, it's as Luis was mentioning, the implications of blockchain, and one of examples was in the transfer market regulations. Then for me, another application could be in the ticketing industry, because at least in some markets there are problems in the secondary market. So I think this by blockchain you
with
could
fraud and things like that.
Yeah. So you could track much better, you know. And then for us, and as we saw, the power of user-generated content, you know, and the way this user-generated content has very much power when interacting with properties and with athletes and with other fans. And we see that like a big trend, particularly with platforms like TikTok.
Yeah. Luís?
So I'll say 3 or 4 points from me. I think the earliest one, again, for me, is the stabilization of Web3 and blockchain. I think this phase is actually, for me, very important, because it actually allows you to distinguish who is there for the long run and who should not be there, right? So in any short run. But especially, I think there is a massive opportunity to now, once and for all, create a long-term vision for Web3 in sports. And especially one that understands the longevity of the journey, like 6-7 years, right? Because we're not going to fix that in a year, and especially the only utility is not just revenue, right? So this has been very wrong. So second point, I think if you put a 12 to 24 months, is definitely gaming and intersection between virtual and real. Again, picking up FIFA and EA, as you know, FIFA and EA split. It will be very interesting to see what will happen in that space, because FIFA is definitely very aggressive in the market to create, not their own game, but their own games and their own gaming ecosystem. Combine that with blockchain, combine that with the gamification exercise, so it's quite interesting. But especially EA, I think their game is going to become so much better, right? Like there's no tomorrow. And especially there will be a big fight between the traditional players in the market like EA and Konami and the new ones, companies like Wolves and Striker Z, which is the fight between authenticity, okay? Do I want to play with Cristiano Ronaldo, Messi and so, or do I want versus, me as a player, which means, okay, can I play in the game? I actually think, my thought is actually the hybrid model is me still playing with Ronaldo and Messi, so that's probably is going to be the winning solution. And I'll say the third one for me, which is long term, is real time. I think as soon as we fix latency, which is not, maybe a 3-4 years window, this is going to change so much the monetization in the industry. Imagine betting, okay? So imagine actually a game there is no latency. If you look actually everything in that game will become audible, right? So if the guy is going to kick the ball with his left foot, his right foot is going to squeeze his eye before the penalty kick, or is going basically, you know, to say a funny joke to the referee or to his teammate, right? All of that will become audible. We're talking about giving immense power, right, to the betting industry. And this is something that needs to be governed, because we're talking about potentially billions of microtransactions per second in every game that happens in the world and every sports event, but also opens an opportunity, because the holy grail of the industry has been how the industry can interact with the fan on real time. And technology today allows that. Latency has been the problem, and also, you know, how you can actually monetize that on the real world and on the virtual world. I think there will be a massive opportunity there, and something that I strongly advise you should take a look.
Thank you, everyone. We've gone slightly over, but I hope that was a good introduction to the topic. There's lots we could have covered. Thanks to the panelists. If you could give them a round of applause. Thank you very much.
Óscar, Richard, Luís e o Russell, que nos trouxeram também aqui este passo em frente para as questões digitais ligadas ao mundo do futebol. Vamos fazer só aqui um breve intervalo, coisa de 2, 3 minutos, para arrumarmos aqui a nossa sala de visitas. Para o próximo painel, já a seguir vamos receber o Emanuel Macedo.